students, welcome to the MOOC course on solid and hazardous waste management. Now, today in this module, we will be discussing about the solid waste management rules 2016. Now, solid waste is any unwanted material that is disposed of. Now, they are generated from various sources like your residential source, commercial source, institutional source, industrial source and so on. Now, every year in our country around 62 million tons of waste is being generated. Now, 75 to 80% of this waste is municipal solid waste and only 20 to 30% of this waste is segregated or managed properly. Now, what happens to the rest of the waste? The rest of the waste is just dumped in an open area without any protection. Now, when you dump it in an open area, what will happen to the waste? It will contaminate your environment, and then it will cause a lot of diseases or it will create a lot of health hazards. Now, environment means like it will pollute your water, it will pollute your air, soil, and a lot of diseases are caused by these uncontrolled dumping of waste. Now, there are lot of management options which are available for this waste material. The management as such, if you see, it starts from waste collection, then your segregation, transfer, transport, processing, treatment, and finally, they are disposed of into a safe environment. Now, this management also it is not successful till you have proper rules and regulations that are laid down. Now, without these rules, nobody will follow the management practice. So, rules is very essential and this is what we are going to discuss in this module. Now, solid waste management is guided by the rule, the Solid Waste Management Rule 2016. Now, with this introduction, now let us get into the learning objectives of this module. Now, in this module, we will understand the Solid Waste Management Rule 2016, why this rule was created or framed and why the Solid Waste Management Rule 2000 was revamped. Now, as I told you earlier, the government has revamped the Municipal Solid Waste Management Handling Rules 2000 and notified a new rule. Now, what is the purpose of revamping the older one and notifying a new one is that the older rule spoke only about the municipal area and rest of the areas were left unattended. The new rule were drafted to include all areas and apply this rule in all the areas which we will discuss in the coming slides. So, the government has revamped the Municipal Solid Waste Management and Handling Rules 2000 and notified the new Solid Waste Management Rule in 2016 on 8th April. Now, the draft was published in 2015. The rule is published under the notification of the Government of India in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change under GSR 451E dated 3rd June 2015 in the Gazette. Now, this comes under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. Now, let us discuss now where this rules or to whom these rules are applicable. Now, the new rules are applicable to every urban local body starting from your mega city to the panchayat level, outgrowths in urban agglomeration, census towns as declared by the Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India, notified areas, notified industrial townships, areas under the control of Indian Railways, airports, air bases, ports and harbours, defence establishments, special economic zones, state and central government organizations, places of pilgrims, religious and historical importance as may be notified from time to time by the various governing body. Now, the previous rule spoke or covered only about the municipal region. The rule is also applicable to domestic, institutional, commercial and any other non-residential solid waste generator that are situated in a particular area. Now, before going into the details, you should know who are waste generators. Now, waste generators are every household, event organizers, street vendors, market associations, gated community having an area more than 5,000 square meter, hotels and restaurants. These are the various waste generators. Now, let us discuss in detail about what are the duties of a waste generator and the different governing authorities. Now, the duties of waste generator include every waste generator should segregate the waste and store them in a separate bin. After they are being stored, they should be handed over safely to a municipal worker or any authorized waste picker. Now, the segregation is generally done in 3 streams. One is biodegradable, the other one is non-biodegradable, and the third one is domestic hazardous waste. These should be segregated in suitable bins and handed over to authorized waste pickers or waste collectors. The construction and demolition waste should be collected and segregated and stored in the respective premises, and then it should be disposed of as per the direction given by the governing authorities from time to time. Likewise, this is applicable even for the garden or horticultural waste, which again should be segregated and stored within the premises of waste generation and then later disposed of according to the guidelines provided by the respective governing body. Another duty of waste generator is wrap the diapers and sanitary pads in respective company wrappers and place them in a dry waste bin and then dispose it off later. The waste generator should not throw, burn or bury the solid waste generated by him or her on the streets, in open public places, outside his premises or in the drain or water bodies. All waste generators shall pay a user fee. No person should organize an event or a gathering more than 100 persons at any unlicensed place without prior intimation to the local body. The intimation should be given at least 3 days in advance, 3 working days in advance. Also, the event organizers are responsible for segregating the waste that they are generating. Now, the street vendors also play a role as a waste generator. They should keep suitable containers for storing the waste that are generated during the course of activity. For example, if you have a small fruit vendor, the waste, the spoiled fruit or the fruit peels should be stored off in a proper container and then they should be disposed of or given to an authorized collector. All residential welfare and market associations, all gated communities and institutions having area more than 5,000 square meter and all hotels and restaurants shall segregate the waste in partnership with the local body within 1 year from the date of notification. They should also treat the waste by composting or biomethanation and hand over the recyclables to the authorized recyclers. Now, let us discuss about what are the duties of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now, this ministry should constitute a central monitoring committee to monitor and review the implementation of rules every year. Now, the duties of MOUD or the Ministry of Urban Development will be: 1. To frame national policy on solid waste management, waste to energy and national urban sanitization policy. They should coordinate with the states and the union territories, and they should provide technical guidance, financial support, training to local bodies in terms of capacity building. They should also promote research and development for proper management of solid waste. Now, the Department of Fertilizers should assist in market development for city compost and make them available to companies along with the fertilizers in the ratio of 3 to 4 bags of compost is to 6 to 7 bags of fertilizers. Now, they should be sold along with the fertilizers. If you are selling 6 to 7 bags of fertilizers, then 3 to 4 bags of compost should be sold. Now, likewise, the Ministry of Agriculture shall make a flexible fertilizer control order for the sale of compost. They should also promote the utilization of compost that is generated from the municipal waste. Now, setting up of a testing facility for compost, and they should also issue certain guidelines for maintaining the quality of the compost. This is again the duty of Ministry of Agriculture. Now, the Ministry of Power comes into existence, like they have to fix tariff for the power generation from the waste to energy project. They should also ensure that they are distributed through companies by compulsory purchase. Now, the Ministry of Non-Renewable Energy facilitate infrastructure for waste to energy plants, and also they should provide subsidy for the same. For example, if there is a waste to energy plant there, the energy that is produced from this plant should be sold to the nearby industries. Now, the ministry should make it compulsory that these industries should buy energy from the waste to energy plant. Now, let us discuss about the duties of a secretary in charge of urban development for every state or union territory. Now, they shall prepare a state policy or strategy in consultation with the waste pickers, self-help groups, and they should emphasize the adoption of 3 R's. 3 R's is nothing but reduce, recycle and recover. The secretary should also coordinate with town planning of the state to include the identification of land and the waste processing and disposal facility in the master plan of the states or towns. Now, this is exception for those cities who are members of common waste processing facility or sanitary landfills. The secretary should also ensure that a separate space is provided for segregation, storage and decentralized processing of solid waste for group housing, commercial, institution or any non-residential complexes that is having 200 dwelling minimum and that is having a minimum of 200 dwelling or having a plot area exceeding 5,000 square meters. They should also develop certain special economic zones, industrial estate, industrial park to ensure at least 5% of the total area of the plot or minimum 5 plot or sheds for recovery and recycling facility. They should also identify common regional landfills for cities and towns falling within a distance of 50 km or more from the regional facility on a cost sharing basis. They should also notify guidelines of buffer zones for the solid waste processing and disposal facilities for more than 5 tons per day waste generation, and this should be done in consultation with your state pollution control board. They should also start a scheme for registering these waste pickers and waste dealers so that they can be brought from the informal sector to the formal sector. Now, let us discuss about the functions or duties of a district collector or magistrate. A district collector or a magistrate shall facilitate identification of a landfill site and do a quarterly review of the performance of local bodies. Now, the secretary of these panchayats function in a same way as that of a secretary of urban development, like coordinating, setting up skill development programs, identifying lands for landfill and waste processing. So, the functions are almost same for the secretary of urban development and for the secretary of panchayats. Now, let us discuss about the duties of the Central Pollution Control Board. Now, the CPCB or Central Pollution Control Board shall coordinate with the state pollution control boards for monitoring the implementation of rules. They should also prepare annual reports and formulate and review the standards for proper disposal, treatment and processing of municipal solid waste. They should also review the proposal of new technologies so that it will benefit better solid waste management. They should also prepare guidelines for buffer zones restricting from industrial, commercial and construction activities. They should also provide guidance to states or union territories on interstate movement of waste. This in future will be a problem, and so it is essential now you focus on the interstate movement of waste. Now, let us discuss about the duties of a local authority or a panchayat. A local authority or a panchayat shall prepare a solid waste management plan with timeline and access its implementation. They should also arrange for door-to-door collection of the segregated solid waste from all households, including slums and informal settlements, commercial, institution and non-residential premises. They should form self-help groups and encourage door-to-door collection of waste. They should also frame certain bylaws and prescribe them from time to time. They should also lay a user fees and regulate them from time to time. They are also responsible for establishing material recovery processing centers. They should also ensure that waste deposition centers are set up especially for the hazardous waste, so that the hazardous waste can be phased out within 2 years. Now, the State Pollution Control Board will monitor the standards, they will examine, issue, suspend and regulate authorization. They shall give direction for safe handling of waste. Now, what are the duties of a manufacturer or a brand owner? A brand owner or manufacturer should set up collection centers to collect back the waste of their products. Now, one example is they should provide a pouch along with the diapers and sanitary pads, so that these waste can be put into these pouches and then disposed of. They should also educate the mass about the proper disposal of such waste. The company should use recyclable materials as far as possible in the manufacturing process. Now, all manufacturers of disposal products such as tin, glass, plastic, packaging material, etc., the brand owners must provide necessary financial assistance to the local authorities for setting up a waste management system. Now, industries like cement, power plant, they shall use RDF as a fuel. RDF is nothing but refuse derived fuel, fuel derived from the waste material within 100 kilometers. That means, if you have an industry within 100 kilometer within the premises of 100 kilometer of an refuse derived fuel generation plant, the industry should purchase fuel from this plant. Now, operator of facilities shall also follow guidelines and standards that are provided by the governing authority. Now, so far we discussed about the duties of a waste generator, Ministry of Urban Development, Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, Agriculture, Energy, Fertilizers and so on. We also discussed about the duties of a Secretary of Urban Development, Panchayat, CPCB, SPCB and so on. Now, the rule also specifies certain criteria for hilly region and a waste to energy plant. Now, let us discuss about that. Now, let us discuss about the criteria that the rule has laid for the hilly terrain. Now, in a hilly terrain, there should be no landfill. The construction of a landfill on a hilly terrain should be avoided. A transfer station should be set up to collect the residual and inert waste from the processing facility. Now, a suitable land shall be identified in the plain area surrounding the hilly terrain within 25 kilometers, and you can set or use that place for constructing your sanitary landfills. In case if the land is not available, then efforts can be put to set up a regional sanitary landfill for the inert and the residual waste. Now, a local body shall frame bylaws and prohibit the citizens from littering waste on the streets and give strict direction to the tourist not to dispose of any waste like paper, water bottles, liquor bottles, soft drink cans, Tetra packs and any other plastic or paper waste on the streets or down the hills. Now, local body should put hoardings for tourists everywhere and tell them about the provisions of the solid waste management. A step garden system may be adopted for optimum utilization of hill space. Now, let us discuss like what are the criteria that the rule has laid for waste to energy process. Now, non-recyclable waste having a calorific value of 1500 kilocalorie per kg or more shall not be disposed of in a landfill. What that means, any non-recyclable waste having a calorific value of 1500 kilocal per kg, they should not be disposed, but they should be used in a waste to energy plant to trap energy from them, and this energy should be utilized efficiently. Such high calorific value waste can be subjected to a refuse derived fuel plant and then trapped as energy, or they can be used as a feedstock for preparing some other products or refuse derived fuel. Now, high calorific waste shall be used for co-processing in cement or thermal power plants. Now, the local body or any operator of the facility should set up waste to energy plant of more than 5 tons per day processing capacity, and they should submit an application in Form 1 to the State Pollution Control Board or Pollution Control Committee for further authorization. Now, let us discuss about what are the time frame that the rule has given for the successful implementation of the solid waste management. Now, for landfill identification, it is 1 year. That means, the state or union territory, they should identify landfill within 1 year time. Procurement of waste processing facility should be within 2 years. Ensure To practice segregation, door-to-door collection of waste, it should be done within 2 years. Setting up of solid waste processing facilities, having 1 lakh or more population within 2 years. Setting up of solid waste processing facilities by local bodies and census towns below 1 lakh population within 3 years. Now, setting up of a sanitary landfill should be done within 3 years time, and bioremediation of or capping of old landfill should be done within 5 years time. Now, let us discuss about the review of implementation of rules at various levels. Now, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and the Central Monitoring Committee should review the implementation of the solid waste management rules every year. District Collector will review its performance of local authorities every quarterly. State Pollution Control Board or Pollution Control Committees will review the implementation of rules with DMA every half yearly. The Secretary in charge of Urban Development at the state level advisory committee will review the performance every half year. Now, let us summarize the rules and let us look into the salient features of the rule. Now, the salient features of the rule is, as I told you earlier, the jurisdiction is extended. The municipal area has been extended to rural area, it has been extended to urban conglomerations, special economic zones, event organizers, street vendors and so on. So, that is the main key point here. Second, segregation at source. The new rules have mandated that source segregation is very essential, and in order to channelize the waste to wealth by recovery, reuse and recycle, segregation is very important. Third, collection and disposal of sanitary waste. The manufacturer or brand owners of the sanitary napkins or diapers, they are responsible for creating awareness among people and help them in proper disposal. They should also provide a pouch or wrapper for its safe disposal. The fourth one is collect pack scheme for packaging material. The brand owners or manufacturers who sell the products in packaging material should set up collection centers and should collect them from the users and take it back and then do a proper management. Next is user fee for collection. The municipal authorities will levy a user fee for collection, disposal and processing of waste. Also, a spot fine will be laid for littering and non-segregation. No throwing or burning or burying of waste on streets, open public places outside the generator premises or in the drains or water bodies. Then is your waste processing. Set up waste processing units and treat biodegradable waste and dispose of the residue. Now, the treatment can be composting or biomethanation. Now, the bulk generators should have a composting setup of their own. Then is your setting up of sanitary landfills for every city. Also, the promotion of use of compost is one important salient feature of this rule. Promotion of waste to energy units like the RDF, refuse derived fuel, to be used as a fuel in industries is again one of the important salient feature. Then management of waste in hilly terrain, constitution of central monitoring committee, integration of rack pickers, kabadiwalas and self-help groups in waste collection system, special economic zone to ensure that they have or allocate 5% of the total area of the plot or minimum 5 plots for recovery and recycling facilities. Lastly, let us discuss about the different schedules and forms that are available in the rules. The rule consists of 2 schedules and 6 forms. The schedule 1 talks about the specifications for sanitary landfill, like the criteria for site selection, criteria for development of facilities at the sanitary landfills, criteria for specification for landfilling operations and closure on completion of landfilling, criteria for pollution prevention, criteria for water quality monitoring, criteria for ambient air quality monitoring, criteria for plantation at landfill site, criteria for post care of landfill site and criteria for special provision for hilly areas, closure and rehabilitation of old dumps. So, these are the different parts in the schedule 1 which mainly focuses on the sanitary landfills. Now, schedule 2 talks about the standards of processing and treatment of solid waste. Now, the standards for composting and standards for treated leachate and standards for incineration are all included in the schedule 2. Now, let us discuss about the different forms. Now, form 1 talks about the application for obtaining authorization under solid waste management rules for processing, recycling, treatment and disposal of solid waste. The form 2 talks about or gives the format for issue of authorization. Form 3 gives the format of annual report to be submitted by the operator of facility to the local body. Now, Form 4 gives the format for annual report on solid waste management that is to be submitted by every local body. Now, Form 5 gives the format of annual report to be submitted by the State Pollution Control Board or pollution control committees to the Central Pollution Control Board. Lastly, the Form 6 talks about accident reporting. To summarize, at the end of this module, we have discussed about the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. We have seen how the Municipal Solid Waste Management and Handling Rules 2000 has been revamped for certain reasons to Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. We have also discussed about what are the different duties of a waste generator and different authorities like Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Urban Development, Energy, Non-Renewable Energy, Fertilizers, CPCB, SPCB and other local bodies. We also discussed about the duties of manufacturers or brand owners. Then we discussed about the salient features of the rules, where different points have been incorporated into this rule, which is not available in the 2000 rule. Then finally, we discussed about the different forms and schedules. I hope this module would be of use to you. Thank you.